So welcome everybody. My name is Rachel Justice, and along with Jillian Levinson, we are the co-leaders of the Woman to Woman Gynecologic Cancer Support Program. And we are absolutely thrilled that you are all here with us this evening for the 22nd Woman to Woman reunion. The reunion is a time traditionally that we bring together patients at all different stages of your. And the goal is to just all get together to learn, to be educated, but more importantly, to come together as a community and remind you, which the motto of our program is that you are not alone. You are in this with lots of others, and we are all, here in this supportive community. We're going to mute everyone, and then we'll just have the speakers unmute, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect over the next hour and a half. So we'll be doing some brief introductions to let you know kind of who we are, who our wonderful speaker is. We then have a great speaking portion where you are going to be educated. It's going to be interactive, and you are all in for a real treat. And then we are going to, again, do some wrap up, some kind of administrative stuff. And then we're going to have some schmooze time at the end to have everyone discuss. As always, you are always welcome to put questions, thoughts, comments in the chat. For those of you who are joining and are more coming on right now, please feel free. We're asking participants to put one word in the chat to describe how you feel about your body. That's going to be referenced a little bit later, not by name, but just in general. We did just want to give, because we have some great new folks joining us, some names that are not familiar to us. So we did just want to give you a quick overview for those of you who may not know exactly what Woman to Woman is. Woman to Woman is celebrating our 20th anniversary in 2023. Our program was founded 20 years ago. With the goal of making sure that no woman should face gynecologic cancer alone. And we do that through a variety of different ways. The cornerstone of our program 20 years ago and to this day are our incredible survivor volunteers. Our survivor volunteers are women just like all of you who've decided to take their cancer journey and use that as a way of supporting women through peer mentorship who are newer to their diagnosis. So they get lots and lots of training, and Jillian and I meet with as many women as we can to try to match you one-on-one with a mentor who could be, someone, again, not a friend, not a member of the medical team, but somewhere in that big gray in-between area to help you get through this challenging time. If anyone here is not paired with a mentor and would like to be, please just let us know, and we're happy to speak to you about that. We also have a lot of other parts of our program. As you all know, we have a robust calendar of activities, all online at this point. If you're not on our mailing list and would like to be, please just private message either Jillian Levinson or me, and we'll make sure that you get onto the calendar. We welcome anyone, and we have really a variety of programming. And then we also provide financial assistance, and there are different areas. Once the social worker who works with you determines that you would be eligible, we can support everything from transportation to professional mental health services and household bills, that kind of thing. So again, if that's something you feel would be beneficial, we encourage you to speak to your social worker about whether you'd be eligible for a grant. As we're getting started, we did just want to, again, mention that this is our 20th anniversary, and we wanted to give a shout out to the Lewin Fund to Fight Women's Cancer as they help financially sponsor these reunions. So we are very grateful to Sharon Lewin and her team. So without further ado, we're going to get into some of our programming, and I'm going to turn the virtual microphone over to Sandra, who is one of our amazing survivor volunteers, and she's going to explain why this is such an important topic, and she's going to get us started. So thank you so much, Sandra, and thank you all so much for being here with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. I'm a woman-to-woman volunteer, a survivor. Well, thank you all for all being here tonight. I guess I'll do the opening act for our main speaker tonight. So I'll start by maybe just sharing a little story, my own stories. I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer back in fall of 2015. Prior to that, I was very active. I played tennis, 3 times a week. I was eating healthy, staying very fit. But then soon after the diagnosis, I had surgery, which pretty much put me in bedridden, inactive. And then my chemo cocktail regimen somehow caused a major water retention and made me extremely bloated, and I had lymphedema. And then on top of that, I was on steroid, which gave me the infamous moon face and a very, very broad shoulder. So basically, I was like a walking water balloon. And there was one time I was even water in my eyes that I was looking blurry for a couple of days. Yeah. So the bloating and the excess weight got so bad, I could barely recognize myself in a mirror. And eventually, as time went on, one day I realized I looked so different that my iPhone didn't recognize me anymore. So yeah, that was a sad day. So we figured, well, we've all gone through in this community, but we've gone through a traumatic cancer experiences like treatments, or maybe some people just had some changes in their lives that altered our bodies or appearances, or maybe just simply something we don't like about ourselves. But this perception of ourselves, we find that it has a tremendous impact on our self-esteem. So how we perceive ourselves can really affect us deeply, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. So we feel like it's important to learn how to accept and to love and care for ourselves, to reestablish or to reinforce maybe a positive self-image. So no matter what type of scars now we're carrying. So hopefully, I hope we'll all leave today's reunion feeling a little happier and more confident and more proud of ourselves. So, well, for now, I'll pass the mic to another volunteer, Janet, to start today's reunion. Thank you.
Today, I'm Janet Gohl, a volunteer, and today's program will feature Sabrina Shih, who's a social worker from the Mount Sinai Center for Eating and Weight Disorders. Sabrina will show you how to cultivate a healthy body image and how to utilize body neutral skills building to gain body acceptance. Let's give a warm welcome to Sabrina Shih.
Hi, everyone. I'm honored to share space with you all today. Thank you for opening up this evening to me. When I was approached by Rachel, I hadn't heard of Woman to Woman. And in my head, I was thinking, why hadn't I heard of this? And, why hadn't there been collaboration, especially as body image is such a big topic, both in my world of eating disorders, eating and weight disorders, as well as in cancer survivorship. And so I'm hoping to learn from you all tonight, as well as I will do my best to share with you skills that have helped myself improve my body image as well. Throughout my journey, both professionally and personally, I have struggled with self-identity and with body image. And today I want to name it. I think it's really important. And I see with all of you commenting in the chat and thank you for doing that, bringing together what you may feel like in the present moment about your body. I want to be clear, maybe even about what body image is, right? Everyone has their own journey, but looking at particularly how it can be an even more precarious journey in cancer survivorship, particularly I can never say this word right, gynecological, it'll take me time, but gynecological cancer could be, even more of something that we need to talk about. Perfectly Imperfect, Cultivating Healthy Body Image Through Survivorship. So what even is body image? Body image, everyone has their own journey of it, has their own definition of it. Now, when we think globally of what body image is, it's a person's perception of their physical self and the thoughts and feelings, whether positive, negative, or both, which result from that perception. So this kind of goes back to what Sandra was saying about how we can be impacted physically by what our body image is. And so when we think about body image, we think about it in 4 aspects. There's the perceptual aspect of it, which is how we see body. Right? And this, I want to be clear that how we see it may not always be a correct representation of how we actually look. Another one is affective, which is how we feel about our body. This could be the amount of satisfaction or dissatisfaction you feel about your shape, individual body parts, your weight, what you look like. Could also be cognitive, which I think is a big one for us, which is the way you think about your body. This can lead to preoccupation with body, shape, and weight. And lastly, behaviorally. So behaviorally, how you engage in your body. Some people may isolate themselves and not want to go out because they're having a negative body image day or poor body image day. Some people may restrict or go on diets that could be harmful to both your mental and physical health. And so everyone's body image story is their own, right? Is their own to share. And I think it is helpful when we think about body image in these 4 aspects of it. Now, survivorship and self-image. So I think that when cancer and cancer treatment can cause a number of changes in your body, and I've learned that even today, from Sandra's story, also from looking in the chat, what I've been seeing, which that, both visible changes and non-visible changes. I put some in here, some visible changes that through my research, and I would love to hear from you all too. I might need help monitoring the chat. Rachel, if you could help with that, or someone on your team, because I can't see the chat. But if there's anything else I'm missing, or that you want to share, please feel free to put it in the chat. I put some common ones that I've seen, which is hair loss, skin and nail changes, scarring. I think I saw a couple of mentions of scarring in the chat. Loss or change in shape, size, or swelling of a body part, weight loss or weight gain, whether it be through cancer treatment or post-cancer treatment, lymphedema, changes in the way you speak and your movement, balance, coordination. These may be ones that maybe you've experienced, or again, if there are any that are visible changes that aren't on here, would love for you to put it in the chat. And when we think about body image, oftentimes our kind of knee-jerk reaction is to think about our physical body, right, our appearance. But I think particularly for cancer survivors, we must consider the changes that aren't visible. There we go. So common body changes that are not visible, or here are some of the ones that I list in here. And you may feel different about your body, even if there are no lasting physical changes to your body. These invisible changes, though, are also a part of the conceptualization of self-image. When we think self-image, we both think of things that are visible and things that are invisible. And these both merit the same attention, same support, same gentleness, same kindness that we treat it. While we are talking about quote unquote body image tonight, I want to make it clear that these non-visible or invisible changes are equally as significant and are treated with the same regard. So some common ones that I again, through speaking with some of you on the team, as well as through doing some research, though limited on my own, I saw people mention infertility or early menopause, changes in sexual function, changes in sensation, feeling tired and weak or unable to do activities you did prior to. I think that one was a big one that I saw in the chat tonight. Someone I think shouted out exhausted or tired. And so, visible and invisible, this exhaustion, I think, is a big one. Late treatment effects that maybe change the way your body functions, whether it's sexually, bladder, bowel movement. So these changes that maybe are not so visible, but have a equally as important and significant impact. If you could get a writing utensil, it could be your phone, it could be your computer, anything is fine. Something that just, if you could jot down some things. If you want to type it in the chat, you could as well, just for you to keep note. And the second part is, if you're able to look in the mirror or look at a photo of yourself or from memory, or maybe if you even have your camera on, you can use that as a reflection as well. But if you could look in the mirror at a photo or a memory of yourself, pretend that you are describing what you see from head to toe to a blind sketch artist. In this case, I could be the blind sketch artist. Head to toe, what you see. Either see in the mirror, in the photo, or from the video, something yourself. What words did you use? I'm going to stop my share screen so I can look at the chat too to see maybe some words. What words did you use to describe what you saw? Whether it's what you saw in the mirror, this blind sketch artist, me trying to draw what you look like. What words did you guys use, or did you find yourself using? Segue to a short video that I wanted to share with all of you. This is part of a campaign called the Self-Esteem Project by Dove, and I'll get to a debrief on the activity, but I wanted to show you all this video first. So, hear this?
I'm a forensic artist. Worked for the San Jose Police Department from 1995 to 2011.
I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm gonna ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm gonna ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
So here we are. This is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
So yeah, that's...
She looks closed off and fatter, sadder too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right. And we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
Okay. Any reactions? Has anyone seen this video before? I'm curious. The first time we're seeing it, I think I have a lot of head nods for the first time. Yeah, seen it before. Awesome. I'm happy that that it's had such an impact on people, that it's gone out further than I think initially they had intended at just part of a small campaign, but it's really gone out, gone wider, a wider audience. Okay, awesome. So, you know, coming off of that, I think what I noticed, and maybe this is something you all noticed as well, which was that, okay, is that when we think about body image and we say quote unquote bad body image, and again, it could be negative body image or poor body image, but when we think about bad body image, what we are describing is more often than not internally what we see ourselves rather than what we actually see objectively in the mirror. So it's a bad body image can be said to be a negative, or, and I highlighted this, inaccurate evaluation of one's body. Okay, typically it's one of dissatisfaction and distortion, meaning that we're using judgmental and subjective language. For example, ugly, unattractive, scarred. I think one I heard earlier was like saggy, helpless, trapped. So there are these very judgmental, non-subjective language, or subjective, excuse me, language that we're using. And while this is valid of your experience, maybe internally what you were feeling, it is objectively inaccurate. So I think what we saw in the video, I don't remember if you guys saw one of the women, the blonde woman, Claire, she, when she was describing herself, she said that she had a pointed chin, but the picture of someone that had described her said, that she had a cute chin, a cute little chin. And so when we think and we interpret our photos or what we look like, again, oftentimes we think of it in these ways that are not very kind, but more importantly, not very accurate. And attentional biases that we have can exacerbate this pattern, right? If we're feeling negative body image, we may develop a negative bias towards certain parts of their body that instead of focusing on things that are either more positive or neutral, right? One might, I heard earlier, one might focus on their breasts or the scars, right? Or one might focus on their thighs or their bellies or their swelling of the faces, rather than taking a more objective and overall perspective of what one actually looks like. So we heard, and these are some of the common ones. And again, there is positive ones as well. So I definitely want to make sure that I talk about those as well. And we'll see that body image is on a spectrum. So we'll get to that. But oftentimes what our knee-jerk reaction, our knee-jerk is to say that we are huge or we're fat or hideous or disagreeable, nasty, using these words to describe ourselves that aren't objective. Right? So say we were to be more objective. What would that look like? It could look like saying precisely what you're seeing. I'm seeing freckly, I'm seeing pale, I'm seeing straight, angled, light, brunette, dark, proportional, symmetrical, flat. Like, these are what is being reflected in the mirror, as well as what is objectively being seen. So again, to hammer the point in, for example, we might subjectively think, hey, I look fat. But what about shape? A blind artist may ask you about shape. Are you triangular? Are you more oval, pear? What can I compare it to that could help me put into perspective in an objective way? What about when one says, hey, I look ugly? Or I think earlier I heard, again, going back to, I heard saggy. That one really stood out to me, because even as I was imagining saggy, I was like, I wonder what my idea of saggy and this other person's idea of saggy looks like. Right? And so unattractive, what does that mean objectively? What does your shading look like? Do you have dark corners, light corners, dull? What does that look like? So this other one you can kind of take note of, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of all these, but these are just some ideas. The next time that you are looking in the mirror, you can see if you're able to, point out the shape, the structure, color, texture, shading, maybe function, to decrease the discrepancy or the inaccuracy of our body image. We have to be more objective or more neutral in describing what we're seeing. Because the truth is, a lot of the times when we describe what we see, it is flavored with our own judgments. And when we see a scar, we might describe it as dark or dark and ugly, bumpy or scarry, or whatever you use to describe that. Or if I'm looking at my own stomach, I might say that it's round in a way that's fat and it's protruding. But objectively, what would we describe that as, right? If I were to objectively describe to a blind artist, what would they ask? They might ask me about the texture, the color, the shading. So really one of the main goals of this is to bring it close accuracy, to increase the accuracy of what we see in the mirror to what we're describing. Again, because we oftentimes are inaccurate when we describe ourselves. And so what that can lead to is I think we heard earlier on, people talked about isolating, not wanting to go out with social gatherings. Other signs of negative body image, you might think about, which one of these maybe apply to me, is You might notice that your mood is significantly shaped by how you feel about your body that day. Maybe on your way out and you look in the mirror like, oh, I don't like how I look today, and that could impact your day. You might be constantly comparing yourself to others. And I also know it might be constantly comparing yourself to how you used to look. I think that's a big one, especially in survivorship of cancer, where you can compare how you look like now to how you look like before. And using negative phrases to describe yourselves, or seeking constant reassurance from others, and asking others like, what do I look like? Do I look okay? Having a distorted body image, or equating thinness or other physical characters with success, perfection, or happiness, right? Kind of basing our self-esteem and our happiness on physical features or non, things that we feel more confident in. Feelings of shame. I think that's a really big one that I see, in this community, but also beyond this community, this idea that we carry of shame in how we look and not looking quote unquote perfect, whatever perfect looks like. The impact of this is pretty significant. It can increase engaging in unhealthy lifestyle behaviors, whether that is dieting or restrictive eating or overeating or overexercising, disordered eating or weight control behaviors. It could also lead to lower self-esteem, negative self-image, impact on mood, relationship problems, isolation, self-harm tendencies. I think earlier someone was sharing how the impact of not feeling sexual, right? And how that can change a relationship or feel like it's changing a relationship. And that is a significant impact, right? And so body image, again, going back to whether visible changes you see physically or non-visible changes that you feel so intimately and so strongly, have such a significant impact on how you live your life and how you carry yourself every day. And so the hope with this is that we can bring ourselves to having a body image that is more accurate, right? Less judgmental of ourselves. And so I actually would love to hear from some of you, because when Rachel, and so I keep name dropping you, but when you approached me to share Women to Women with me, I think something that I heard was people, you mentioned, or someone mentioned, hearing from other people like, oh, you're lucky you're alive, you shouldn't be complaining about this. Oh, you're thin now, so what's so bad about that? Or you should be grateful, or at least your scars aren't obvious. All these different ways, different things that people say, maybe out of good intention, but could actually be very invalidating on your experience. So I'm curious if anyone is open to sharing, what else maybe have you heard or have you witnessed or experienced before? And I'm going to turn off the screen again so I can. So I think sometimes or oftentimes we're told we hear things that could be very invalidating from other people about our body image, such as, oh, you're lucky you're alive, or you're thin now, so what's so bad about that? Or things like, at least your scars aren't that obvious, or things like that are very invalidating.
Yeah, I was going to say it's bad enough if you have friends or family who say those exact phrases and you have captured them exactly as people say them. But the worst thing is when doctors say this to you. When doctors tell you, oh, they dismiss you, they invalidate your feelings, and it's just like you should be grateful you're alive when your whole life has changed. And perhaps that is more difficult than, you can put it past a stranger, you can put it past a friend or even a family member. But a doctor saying that, no, that's not the right attitude. And I've had the impact of having more than one doctor say it. And quite frankly, I stopped seeing them, because I don't want to deal with someone who thinks that when you go from being independent and walking to no longer being able to walk and being totally dependent on other people to get out and to live, and they don't see that that's just, I'm grateful I'm alive. Of course I'm grateful, but that's not enough, because the only thing I ever said when I started treatment was 3 words: quality of life. I'd love to live a lot more years, but you know what? It's the quality of life. And that was totally ignored. And it makes me feel very invalidated. And so I'm sorry to bring it up, because I know everybody has such positive experiences, but this is not my experience. And I had to find a PCP who finally, the other part of it is, and a friend of mine who works with people who are disabled said to me, you're going to see how people change in relation to you. And I said, no, they won't. And he said, yes, they will. When I go out now, if I go into a store and I'm with my aide, they don't talk to me directly. they speak to my aide as if I was mentally challenged. And my aide has to say to them, she's in a wheelchair. She hasn't lost her mind. She can speak for herself. And these things may seem small to people. They're not small. They impact your image as much as losing your hair, losing your weight. And I am sorry to hear about how other people who had those changes are feeling about themselves, because it's tough to maintain your sense of self with all of those changes in the society we live in. I don't know where most people live who are in this chat tonight, but you live in a city like New York or other places, even small towns. People do change how they treat you based on your thing. And it takes incredible, I don't know, self-confidence or whatever. And I see that tonight, and I applaud those individuals who are so able to overcome and have that incredible, great attitude. God bless you. It's wonderful. It's inspiring, but not all of us can feel that way. And then we feel bad. We feel like we're less than because we can't be as positive as everybody else. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think absolutely when we think about the changes to your body, and then you mentioned quality of life, right? Yes, there could be both. You are grateful that you're alive, and your quality of life is impacted. It's not just one or the other. And oftentimes in the world that we live in, it's very black or white. It's just, I see this or I see this. And that experience, I think I saw a lot of head nodding as you were sharing that, as well as in the chat too. People were saying, everyone just says you're lucky to be alive, at least you have hair now. All these comments that are very invalidating of the experience that you're going through right now and the quality of life that has changed. So thank you. That was very well put. You don't have to be sorry. This is the space for you. Thank you. I think someone else in the chat also said, some people compare you to someone they know isn't alive, or you look fine even hours after an operation or chemo treatment. It makes you feel guilty. I think that's a really big one. Not only the invalidation, but it starts to become, well, should I be more grateful? Am I not being grateful? And it kind of starts to bring in this feeling of guilt. Absolutely. And so one thing, again, I did also want to share, and this goes back to what Marlene was saying, was I think when we view body image, you can view it on a spectrum, right? The goal, it's wonderful, happy to have body love, to have body peace, and to love our bodies. And, that could be a goal that people have, right? But sometimes it's just friggin' hard to be happy about our bodies, especially when there's been such a change where you're now, for example, dependent on other people. And that's different than what you've, always been used to, right? It could be very, we see body image. I think it'll be helpful also to see it as being on a spectrum. And instead of this binary thing of negative versus positive body image, we have to recognize that it is not always possible to completely love your body. And most importantly, that's okay. You don't have to feel positive about your body all day, every day, especially when you have gone through such a thing as having to survive cancer, having to survive treatment, and it impacting and changing your life and the quality of your life in such a way that it's actually difficult to be positive about the changes. Recently, there's been a big shift. People have kind of shifted from body positive to body neutrality. And body neutrality focuses on this idea of acceptance, gratitude, and appreciation for what it does. But I want to caveat this by this. Body positivity might sound like I love my body. Body neutrality might sound like my body allows me to move in ways that bring joy. But to the point earlier, right, these ideas of acceptance or gratitude aren't inherently bad, but for survivors of cancer or that are going through treatment, it's not always so easily accessible to be grateful for what your body does, especially when treatment at its core can be destructive. It involves either a loss of body parts and or challenging adjustments to what you're able to do on a daily basis. It may be very difficult to be body neutral and say, you know what, I appreciate that my legs help me get there because right now my legs don't work anymore. Right? So understanding that the caveat of body neutrality is that even though it prioritizes being objective and kind of viewing body and body parts more for the function it does, in survivorship, one can't forget the impact of the changes in your body, and it's not so straightforward to detach from your body when it sometimes lets you down, or it causes you pain, or maybe is a site of painful memories. And so when thinking about body neutrality, at least in the tone of this, the focus, I think, is less so on function. You know, if function for you is not one that is easily we can accessible, gravitate towards, I, again, want to go back to the practice of what we did earlier with a twist, right? So the main objective is still to be objective, to maintain neutral, and to report the facts. For example, someone might say, you know, these scars that I have are red in color, bumpy to the touch, and functions as a reminder of a hard-fought journey of surviving cancer. We're not saying if it's good or bad. We're not being, we're being an objective reporter of, you know, here are the facts. One might say, and you know, again, feel free to share this, please, in the chat. You know, one might say, I see a pair of legs that are in a wheelchair right now, that the wheelchair carries me from place to place. Right? It's not that we have to say that it's good or bad that it does that, or we're not giving an opinion on it. We're simply reporting the facts. So reporting the facts does not take away from the fact that you may feel a certain way about what your body image is, but it brings us closer to being neutral or even positive of our body, rather than hate, and rather than feeling guilty about, oh, if I don't love my body, it means that, you know, I should love my body, and all of these things. So reporting the facts, being objective, and maintaining neutrality. So I wanted, you know, also I keep going back and forth between the screens, but I love to see everyone's faces. I was going to say beautiful faces, but I'm going to be objective. Everyone's faces. But I saw some things in the chat, and oh, I love what someone said. They said, my attitude and experience does not negate yours. Absolutely. How I feel about my body does not negate how someone else should experience it. Right? And someone said, I used to say that I am not on speaking terms with my body because I did not expect it to. What felt like betray me. Absolutely. It's such an intimate relationship that one has with their body. And on top of that, I think it's so much pressure to put on ourselves to have to be positive about it all the time.
Well, does it mean that you like yourself enough? It's like, because I do have a problem with that.
Sure.
Because it sounds negative to me. You know, I once had a doctor say to me, and wasn't a negative interaction, but on, you know, something that I was going through. And he says, you're living like, you know, you've been living your life like whatever you're dealing with, you're good enough. And he once said, is that enough for you? So I have, you know, that's my only perception.
Yeah, I think absolutely, right? What does enough mean? Right? What does enough mean to you? What does enough mean to the doctor maybe who's saying that? And I think the idea with body neutrality, or the idea with this whole thing about body image, is that it is your choosing. It is yours to take. Again, it can absolutely be impacted by how others view our bodies, and it absolutely is. But, you know, what does body image mean to you? Right? And how can we, in light of all the things that other people may say about it, find a way to be more accurate? Because if we're being more accurate of our bodies, it's not adding any subjectivity to it about, you know, is this feeling enough or not, right? Because who is to say that that's enough or not enough for you? You get to determine that yourself. Right? So again, adding that objectivity to it. I don't know if that answers or is a reflection to your question, but thank you for sharing. I think that's one that we often hear, this idea of being enough or not enough. Someone wrote in the chat, I love the objectiveness of body neutrality. I understand it as saying what is, what can be seen, the facts of what is there, what is felt without judging the feelings. Absolutely. Right? I think, you know, when we see body neutrality, it's again, reporting the facts. It does not mean that you must accept. It's not pressure to have to accept. It's also not pressure to have to reject. It's simply, here is what it is. It does not mean that we have to love it. Does not mean we have to hate it, but it takes away the pressure from feeling like we're doing something wrong, whichever way we go. Any other responses to, neutral and being more body neutral and what that might mean?
I guess what I was going to say is, I think like my whole life, I had very poor self-esteem around my looks and my body and the way I walk. I mean, you name it. And then this happened, and getting older has its challenges. I have to really recognize that I'm older than 65 or 66. and then I think it's really hard for anybody to really see themselves. I mean, that's just what I think, it's,
Sure.
or at least I think it's really hard for me to see myself, is what I should say. And then given that, if I accept that, then I don't really know what anybody else sees either. And I'm not going to judge myself so harshly, especially, after this, because the truth is, it doesn't really matter. It's who I am. And in order for me to get back into fighting shape, winning weight or whatever, I don't know what the boxing term is, but back in the ring, I'd have to work pretty damn hard at this point. And, I have to decide if I really can do it. Because I don't think a little bit is good enough. I know maybe it should be, but I think it's going to really take like prioritizing it and holding myself accountable and feeling I'm worth it and all these other things, So really a change in routine, which is hard. I'm blathering on, but
No.
That's all to say that acceptance, I think, is the name of the game. And then striving to the best of our ability and admitting when we can and admitting when we can't. So,
sorry to interrupt. There's a really nice comment about you in the chat. I don't know if you can see it, so I just want to read it to you. Someone wrote, "You're adorable, a loving person, great smile."
Aw, thank you.
And she said, "And you are so wise."
Oh.
So,
yeah, that was beautifully put. Even if it was planned, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we have such a hard time seeing ourselves that, when we see it comes from, could be, again, depending on the day, maybe we have such positivity when we see ourselves and we're like, girl, you look great today, or you look hot, whichever it is. But then there may be days when we're like, oh, you don't look good, and you're not functioning properly. And either one of those spectrum, I think it's great to feel like really good in yourself, but the pressure to always have to feel good is, added pressure on top of already maybe struggling with having bad body image or bad self-image. It's an added layer that I think does not, it's there, right? We're naming it that it's there. We have this pressure to want to look good, want to feel good because it's ideal, but it's okay if we don't feel good all the time. It's absolutely okay, especially in something like this, where the function of your body has changed or the looks of your bodies have changed. So
did you see, Sabrina? I'm not sure if you saw a comment in the chat that somebody wrote about body neutrality. I'm happy to read it if you didn't see it or not.
Sure, if you could, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Someone wrote, "I like the objectiveness of body neutrality. I understand it is saying, quote, what is, unquote, what can be seen, the facts of what is there or what is felt without judging the feelings."
Absolutely.
Sorry. One of the things I've been dealing with is, we have one of those picture, it just like brings up old pictures all the time. And like, now I look at those pictures and I thought that I looked bad then, and now I'm like, oh my God, you were so cute. Why weren't you like happier then? Like now you really look bad, like I don't know how to get past all of that negative circular chat in my mind all the time.
It's like the inner critic in us, it's never enough. Maybe years from now you look back and you're like, wait, I was pretty cute then, and what am I looking at, right? It's never enough. The critic, always has something negative to say. It's always in comparison. It never ceases to be in comparison. I think, Alyssa, what you shared, I think I saw so many head nods, at least on my page, probably on the second page too, but a similar experience that many people have had.
Thank you.
And someone's saying that you're cute now.
Virginia, I think you're amazing. Listening to you talk was so inspiring. And you don't look a day over 62.
I was gonna say. So, to end today, I have some homework. I feel like most of us, maybe me, a lot of us have not probably had homework assigned to us maybe in a while or in a bit. But the homework that I want to assign is to practice what you would describe to a blind artist, right? To practice what you would describe to a blind artist, as well as think about maybe how a friend would describe you to a blind artist. Right? Is it met with more compassion, more self-love, more appreciation, more gratitude? It would filter through the lens of someone who sees how funny and adorable and cute and wise you are. Right? How is that filtered through someone else describing it to a blind artist? And before I leave off to again, you guys maybe sharing stories of your own, I really do want to say that I appreciate you all, opening this space up to me and allowing me to take a part in this. Not to put pressure on you all, but it really is inspirational, especially for someone like myself who is younger, right? Who is younger than most, and who hasn't had to go through cancer. But I thank you. It means a lot. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. This was amazing, and your perspective and the exercises. And I mean, we're going to turn it over to Robin next to kind of bring us home. But I just want to thank all of you. As someone said, kind of the vulnerability and, the fact that you all felt close enough to share such intimate and differing views of yourself, was so inspiring. And Sabrina, you obviously created a really safe space and made people feel really comfortable. And this community is just amazing. So, and I love what really warmed my heart is I loved when people jumped in and sort of corrected other people, and okay, almost I have your back. And it was really lovely to see that. So thank you so much. So Robin, it is your time to bring it home.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And I wanted to thank our wonderful reunion committee, Sandra, Janet, Chiquita, and Jillian and Rachel. And hope that you enjoyed the evening and the information.
Hi, everybody. We just want to remind everyone of the availability of Woman to Woman. As you know, monthly we have about 13 groups that really range in terms of educational to supportive. You'll get next month's calendar next month sent to you. But we hope that if there's something that you see that's interesting or you want to join, that you do. If there's a topic that you'd like to learn more about, like Rachel said, you'll get the survey, whether it's not just the reunion, but a general group. And so we continue to be available in that way. But the cornerstone of the program, the reason why Valerie created Woman to Woman, was our peer mentors. We are so proud that we have 37 survivor volunteers. We're onboarding another 2. Someone is here today, which we're really excited about, who's going to be joining us. They're available for anything that you might want, whether it's meeting or talking or emailing or texting, but they have been in your shoes. They might still be, and they want to support you. In addition to the peer mentorship and the online support, we are very proud to provide financial assistance. It's another cornerstone of our program, and that's things like transportation, utilities, co-pays, anything to try to take the stress of the financial burden from you while going through this process. And the last and a little bit more of our newest part of our program is our behavioral health program. We are proud to have 5 contractors that are very seasoned, fantastic oncology social workers who provide individual counseling services, whether it's online or in person, on woman to woman. And we think that counseling should be just a general part of cancer treatment, that you go for your surgery, you go for your chemo, you go for your radiation, and you go for your counseling, because everyone should get that extra support going through this process. And I did reference Valerie's name. Sadly, Valerie Goldfine, who is our founder, passed away this year, and we have been so grateful and honored to know her, for her to have created this community together. And we think about her every day and are just so thankful that 20 years ago, because this is the 20th anniversary, she thought, let me make lemonade out of lemons and help future patients. So that's my shtick. The captioning probably didn't get any of that because I talk so quickly. But the point being is that we're here, and please reach out to Rachel, myself, or one of the 37 volunteers if there's anything that we could help you with.
And that brings us to the end of our formal programming. Eva's going to tell us what comes next. Sorry about that, Chiquita. Didn't mean to skip you.
No problem. Okay. We hope that you join us on our next reunion, which will be in the fall sometime. We don't have a date as of yet, but what it's going to be about is something really interesting. It's regarding social connections and friendships, which I'm sure that that's something that's that people deal with every day, you know, with their loved ones, friends, and how we're connecting and how they're connecting with us through these times. And, you know, are they understanding, or are we understanding them? And just trying to, you know, just trying to find a common ground, common denominator. And that's our next one. So it's going to be very exciting. And we hope that, you know, you come and join us like you did for this amazing reunion. Thank you.
Thank you. There's so much love in our chat right now. There's so much appreciation for you, Sabrina, for what you did for us tonight. Again, for sharing your expertise, passion, perspective, and really shifting the way, you know, we all think about body image. And I would say that goes for, you know, survivors and non-survivors also. But it was really, really informative and so helpful. If you haven't checked out the chat, there is just, like I said, there's so much love in here. I'm going to just read one of the quotes that someone put. Thank you all. I love you, ladies. And a huge thank you to Woman for creating such an amazing, safe space for all of us. And all of this incredible programming. So that was really lovely, but there's so much positivity in this chat. Again, thanking you, Sabrina. You know, everyone's loving everyone. There's a lot of exclamation points. There's a lot of thanks. And I think that we're all just thankful, you know, to all of you for being here tonight, for taking the time, you know, to be part of our community, and for everything that you all do. We're going to ask you just to unmute if you're comfortable. And again, we're very careful about our time. We have about 5+ minutes left, you know, and now's the time to just, you know, free form. You can talk if you want. You can, you know, this is our schmooze time, but also you can talk to Sabrina, you can talk to any of us, you can talk to each other. But this is really, you know, the time where our community can come together. But thank you all.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Sure.
I have a question. Is there a possibility that we might be able to do it in person in the fall?
It's a great question. And I think the answer is that there's a hope that we could do it in person in the fall.
That would be great.
We think that would be so great. And nobody wants that more than the reunion committee. So there is a strong hope that we can do it in person in the fall.
Yay.
And I think time will just tell, you know, I think, again, our desire is, as soon as it is considered safe and we get the go ahead from the hospital, we would love to gather live. So nobody hopes that more than we do. But thank you for bringing that up.
Amen.
One last administrative task is to let you know that you will be receiving a survey later this evening. And, we just want to hear your honest opinion. And, we take that into consideration. We'll read it all together. We'll continue to review when planning future ones. Also, the recording, once it is edited, will be sent to you in a separate blast. So we hope that you keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. There's so much love in this chat. Oh my goodness. If you have not read it, everybody log on there and take a look. It's really, really nice. A comment that someone is, thank you for leading one of the most difficult conversations that we could have together. And it's so important to talk about it. And, that's how we feel. And again, Sabrina, you led it so beautifully and in such a way that everyone felt comfortable, and we were just blown away by, again, how vulnerable, that was the word you used, everyone was when sharing. So we think, this was just great. So thank you all so much.